Bitcoin is too expensive?
So I think Bitcoin definitely a solid investment.
What is your XRP price prediction by the end of the year?
$9 to $10 range.
In Europe here, XRP is not as popular as in the US.
Are they the most decentralized? Absolutely not.
Never late to start with crypto.
Just buy more.
Where to go? What to start with?
You're going to be a crypto millionaire next week.
Hello everyone, this is HodlFM back with you again. I'm Tanya, your host, and today we're going to talk about crypto education and getting started with crypto. So if you're just new to blockchain, stay with us. This is going to be a very, very useful session for you. But before we begin, I would like to announce that we're holding a giveaway. If you want to have a chance to win $100, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and in comments write what was the most or is the most interesting crypto project you have ever seen and why. We will announce a winner during the next session, so stay with us. And moving back to podcast, I would like to introduce you to our guest today. This is Jason Friedman, aka the Chain of Blocks. This is probably the best person to talk about getting started in crypto world, because Jason has his YouTube channel where he explains very, very complex things in very simple words. Hello, Jason, and happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. Appreciate you having me on. Excited to be here.
The first thing I would like to ask you is how you started, when you started with blockchain, how you started with, and when and how did you come up with an idea to have your own YouTube channel to explain crypto to other people?
Yeah, of course. So I kind of got involved in this space around 2016, 2017. I was actually working for a company here in the US that is a credit card processing company. So essentially helps business owners, merchants accept Visa, MasterCard, all these things. And I had never been into the fintech space at that point, but just found it very interesting that this company that didn't really do a whole lot, accepting credit cards, it's a very basic transaction. They're making so much money. And I started to just, try to figure out how this was happening. So I got involved looking at credit card processing, but then pretty quickly found blockchain technology. And it's like, well, this is great, but this might put the company that I'm working for out of business because they kind of do the same thing. And we're charging merchants 3-4% to small businesses that maybe only make a 10% profit margin. It's really eating into their profit margin. Blockchain technology allows them to do that for much cheaper. So I started researching. At that point, you had fewer projects. We didn't really have this meme coin explosion. We didn't have all these things that are going right now. You basically had Bitcoin at the top, Ether, XRP, and then Cardano was just starting off. Polkadot was just starting off. So I kind of started thinking about, these are pretty complex topics, right? When you talk about distributed ledger technology, core premise is pretty easy to understand, but then they all have their different nuances as well. So I started with a blog actually, and I was still working my job, and I would just kind of research on my own and try to put into easy to understand language how these things actually work for, common people to understand. And the blog didn't do very well. Not many people were reading it. Not many people were doing it. So I was spending a lot of time doing this, and not many people were coming to my website. And then I decided, after watching a couple of YouTube channels, not even related to blockchain, but just more in the financial space, I was like, I think I could possibly do that. So I started making videos on the same concept, easy to explain technology. And then, it's good. I like it. You might like it. Some people might like it, but it doesn't draw in so many viewers. Like, we started to get this shift in crypto where it's like, okay, don't really care so much how it works. I care more about how I can make money from this. I've been doing this YouTube channel now for probably about 4 to 5 years. So I've had many iterations. Started with like simple to explain concepts, moved into DeFi spaces. What I do now is kind of a mix of crypto news, current events, try to mix in a little humor as well. So a lot of things have changed, right? We've had at least 2 bull markets since then. So I think every time you get one of these explosions, things type of change. And I've tried to adapt my channel along with that, because you kind of got to make sure that you're keeping people entertained and also providing them with solid information. That's kind of what I think keeps them coming back.
Yeah, because the industry has evolved a lot. Because when you say in 2016, I remember it was mostly there wasn't even ICO. ICO started a bit later. And back then, crypto was, I believe, much simpler. There was no things like NFTs or meme coin. There were some, but they weren't even called so. So it really changed a lot. And probably if you would be like trying to understand what blockchain is back then, it was a bit easier because there wasn't so information around crypto happening as fast as it is now. But if you're holding a channel, could you maybe tell me about what topics are most interested for your audience right now? What are people looking for the most right now?
Yeah, so I think with crypto, it's kind of it's very tribal. Like it's almost like sports in a way. Like when you follow sports, you follow your sports team, but you don't really care about, I mean, you care about them if they're playing your team. But I think in crypto, like you have obviously the Bitcoin maxis, you have Ethereum has a very solid community, and XRP, that's probably what I talk about the most. The XRP Army is just absolutely fanatic. They are just they want so much information all the time. I only put out a couple of videos a week, but there's several people in the community that put out like 2 to 3 a day. They're talking about what style Brad Garlinghouse has, how many pieces of pizza everybody eats. But it's just like, I try to keep mine where it's just like, I can't talk about everything. But I think still the big three are the big three, and I'll call them Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. I think those are probably the most popular, that has the most fanatic community. And they've also been around probably among the longest. A couple summers ago, maybe 3 summers ago, we had the whole Solana explosion, and that has a really big community as well. And now you're having projects like Sui. I hear a lot about Sui, and it's so hard because even though they all have the same foundation as far as distributed ledger technology, it's hard to get into every single one and follow every single one. Like if you're talking about XRP, most people that come to your channel are not Bitcoin maxis. Like there's almost like a rivalry. And that's why I say it's kind of like sports, because there's like a rivalry for kind of like an unnecessary reason. I feel like as one grows, the whole industry grows. Generally what we see during these bull cycles, Bitcoin goes first, then ETH, then kind of everything else follows. But there's kind of like this unnecessary rivalry. Personally, I think my favorite, I don't talk about it so much, I have in the past, is Polkadot. I just kind of like what they have going on as far as their whole ecosystem that's really built out. I feel like they have one of the smartest teams. I feel like Gavin Wood, who's creator or co-creator, however you want to look at it, is just next level as far as vision, what he's building. But again, I don't follow some of the newcomers as well. And Ada is very popular. So yeah, I think when you're making content, it does kind of make sense to stick to a specific coin or blockchain, because that's how you'll get probably the most people to come back and watch. If I started talking about Ethereum on my channel, I would lose a lot of my viewers because they're just so diehard rabid into XRP. So I try to mix in, I do a little bit of what's happening, top headlines throughout. I'm based in the US, so it's a little bit US focused. And then I do what I call crypto news, but it's mostly XRP news. If something else happens that's really big in the industry, obviously I'll throw that in as well. And I think here in the US, one of the biggest topics in the whole industry, if you're not looking coin or blockchain specific, would be the regulations that are happening right now. Obviously we have the new administration that's been in since the beginning of this year, new SEC chairman. And I feel like regulations in the US have been lacking, obviously. And now that we're finally get it, we might see kind of a progression for the entire industry. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Stable coins as well.
I think right now it's probably the best time for crypto, because US is usually the forefront for everything. And when it comes to crypto, to regulations, a lot of happenings in the market, they really depend on what's happening in the US and how US treats crypto right now. And I also noticed that you have a lot of XRP videos, and I have a question for you because of the popularity of XRP. I think in Europe here, XRP is not as popular as in the US. And I was wondering, what's the thing about XRP? Because XRP is kind of controversial thing. Some crypto people don't believe that it's a cryptocurrency at all, because it's not really decentralized. And I was wondering, why is it so popular in the US?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I wish I could pinpoint like one thing because it would really help me kind of like, maybe attract more viewers if I knew that one thing. But I think with XRP, you have a couple of things working for it. They, one, I think maybe one of the leaders is they've been around for a long time. Ripple's been around for a long time. They've had in the early going, I think they had a couple of rebrandings and name changes and things like that. But XRP has been around at least since I've been in the crypto industry. So I think the use case is actually pretty important. Not that others can't do that, but what XRP has done is their focus really is on helping banks and large institutions move large sums of money internationally. So one thing they've done really effectively is go out and sign banks as customers. But another thing that they do is they market themselves really well. So they have, it's a big company. And are they the most decentralized? Absolutely not. But I don't think that's really their main play. Because they've gone out and they have this huge presence on X. They have a CEO that's very charismatic. They have a CTO and kind of the founder as well, in David Schwartz, who likes to go out and interact with the community online. And I think that really brings people in. Plus, in 2017, they had their whole push from whatever it was, like 2 cents up to $3. That attracts a lot of people because, people want to see that type of growth. When you have a cheap token, it's not 2 cents anymore, but even just within the past year, it's gone from 35 cents to over $3. So that's huge. I mean, people make a lot of money on that. And if you have a token, obviously Bitcoin's not going to 10 or 20x in 3 months. That's just, I'm not saying it can't happen, but that's pretty near impossible. So I think the fact that it's cheap, for some reason, people like coins that are less expensive. They feel like they can buy more, although it doesn't really matter if you buy $1,000 worth of XRP and $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. If they both go up 10%, you make the same amount of money. But for some reason, people are attracted to these coins like ADA and XRP because they are cheaper in value as far as like the actual coin price. But I think, the combination of being around for so long and the marketing that they do, whether it's, I'm not saying it's direct marketing, but indirect marketing. They just have a huge online presence. Now they have so many people making videos about them. So it just kind of draws people in as far as US. Now, the decentralization thing, it's definitely a topic of conversation, but I think each one of these blockchains is kind of focusing on what they do best at this point. So XRP, their claim to fame is not how decentralized they are. They focus on other things. And I think it's obviously worked out well for them. I mean, there was a time, I think, maybe around 20, I can't say for sure, but there was a time XRP actually passed Bitcoin as far as the number one cryptocurrency. So like they've been up there before. It's just got a huge base. It's hard to understand. They call themselves XRP Army, and they really are just absolutely fanatical. If I do a video and I have a price prediction, I can't even tell you how many people in the comments will either love it or hate it. And I think kind of that polarization about XRP is one of the things that makes it so popular. Like it's like almost like, I don't know who the big sports teams are in where you are, but here we have like the Yankees and the Cowboys. Like it doesn't matter if you love them or hate them, people are always talking about these things, which for the company or the cryptocurrency is a good thing, right? Like any type of time somebody's talking about you is pretty much a good thing.
Yeah, of course, of course. And what is your XRP price prediction by the end of the year?
It's so hard to say. Like I said, it has done this 10x in a very short period of time. I think the all-time high for XRP is somewhere around in the 360 range. I think we're going to see a nice end to the year. What they're talking about here as far as regulations, as far as the US, they're trying to get some market structure bills to the president to sign off on. I've heard in the next couple of months, but hopefully by Thanksgiving, which probably means hopefully by the end of the year or into next year as well. They move a little slow, obviously, but it seems like if it's already done 360, with not so many people using it, right? It's not like huge. They just launched in their stable coin. I could see it possibly doing another 3x this year, which probably puts it around that $9 to $10 range. Is that definitely going to happen? I don't know, but I think it definitely has a lot of potential. It has a strong fan user base or community, I'll call it. So when we see these bull markets, you tend to see Bitcoin set a new all-time high, which we had. It's come back as well. ETH go up and do it next. And ETH is, I checked today, is pushing up after a couple of slow days, pushing back up towards its all-time high, which I think is around 48 or somewhere in that area. And then after that, you tend to see the rest of the altcoins really follow suit. So I'm excited to see what happens with XRP, if it can push up as well. And some of the other projects that have been around for a long time. You have, BNB and Solana, ADA. I like Polkadot, like I said. But I think these other coins, once you start to see a lot of the regulations get in place, now we're talking about here in the US, the ability for people to divest some of their retirement funds or their we call it 401k into these crypto assets. I think you're just going to see a large influx of money, capital from individuals, retail investors, obviously, but also these big institutions as well. I know we've been talking about it for so long, but now that you're getting these pieces in place as far as infrastructure, market structure, we have the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, all these things kind of hopefully hitting at the same time could create what people might call a perfect storm. And we could see some nice action I'm hoping for by the end of the year.
I think the end of the year is going to be hot right now because if you look at the history, it's always been this way. And we're a year away after Halloween, a bit more. So usually this is where the fun happens. So it's not just going to be Bitcoin, but Bitcoin was actually made a god candle today after this assumption that there will be some rate cuts in September, most likely. So I think we're going to see really, really nice prices for everything. And you previously mentioned that people are looking for other cryptos other than Bitcoin. They are not really interested in investing into Bitcoins because Bitcoin is too expensive and they're trying to find another crypto which is less expensive so that they are hoping to make more money because I think everyone is looking for the next Bitcoin, quite obviously. What would be your advice to those people who are looking for the next Bitcoins? What they should take into account, which cryptos to invest in?
That's a good question. And so I don't think Bitcoin is a bad investment. I hold it. I'm sure you hold some as well. I think it's solid. I think Bitcoin, you're just going to, we may not see this exponential growth that we've seen in years past, but I think it's going to, when you have fixed supply assets, you have, like you said, rate cuts coming hopefully in September. And I think the next one would be November as well. Hopefully we get two by the end of the year, which would be great. So I think Bitcoin definitely a solid investment for that kind of long-term steady growth. But when I look at these crypto projects, we talk about decentralization. I think that is important, but you also want to look at the team behind it. I tend to look at the creator, what have they done in the past, kind of their background, their history, and kind of the team around. You want, just like if you were investing in a stock or something else, anything you invest in, you want to know the people that are behind the project. Maybe not know them, but know their background, know what they stand for, and look for the actual vision of the project. Like, is the use case that this project is tackling actually necessary? Because when we look at Bitcoin, obviously it's nice. I can send you a Bitcoin, you can send me a Bitcoin. We have that, trustless financial transaction. But when you look at everything else, everything is a transaction, right? Like if I post on social media, that's a transaction. We live in a transactional world. So just like when we first got the internet, we got ping and email, and that was the first use case. But like, that's probably not the most used use case right now. So you have to look kind of a little bit beyond what we're doing right now in this, I'm not going to call it the first stage, but still early stages of this technology, and look at what the company actually plans to do in 3 years or 5 years. What is their actual vision? Are they just copying somebody else, or do they actually have a unique platform that allows people to do other things? And that's why I talk about Polkadot sometimes. I just kind of like their model, their parachain model. I know it's come under some scrutiny of late, but I just kind of like that they're opening themselves up to a lot of different avenues of what we can do with this technology. Because at the end of the day, financial transactions, that's huge, right? Like if we can tokenize stocks, if we can do all these things in the financial markets, definitely huge. But I think there's a lot more to it that we will get to that maybe we haven't even thought of yet. So I think that's maybe the most important two things. Like, look at the team. What have they done? Do you trust them? And what is their goal for this technology and for their actual platform?
That's a great answer. Always, you should always do your own research because this is the most important thing. And if we recall the 2017 times where people were investing in absolutely everything, where the teams were basically made up from some random people from LinkedIn, which have no relation to the project or anything. And this is what usually happens during every bull run. And whenever crypto is really discussed, right? Like it's happening right now, like it was happening in 2021 when there was this NFT boom. People encounter a lot of scams, and they have this weird perception that all crypto is scam. So if you want to invest into something new, it's probably the best way to do it is to do research, to find out what the project is about, and not to listen to anyone. Think and make research. And you, in your YouTube channel, have a lot of videos where you talk about earning, about passive income from crypto. Maybe you could, to those people who are just starting out with crypto investments and figuring out how it all works, maybe you could say what are the ways for new people to crypto, for newcomers to earn some passive income.
I think the safest way is to find a project that you like. You have to explore their ecosystem, but if it is a proof of stake platform, like many of them are right now, staking your tokens is probably the easiest, safest, best way to earn some passive income. Now, there's a couple ways to do that, obviously, but I think the safest way to do it is to hold your own coins in your own wallet, hold your own keys, and literally stake them yourselves. There's a couple advantages to that here in the US as well. When you start to use DeFi platforms or just stake directly on chain, you don't have to do any type of KYC to get involved with that. So it's basically just creating a wallet and staking your tokens. So that's good. It could be bad. Obviously, you don't want to, you can still get scammed. But when you're staking your own tokens, these are kind of earnings that you're earning quietly, we'll say that. So it's like nobody really knows that what staking rewards you're making. Now, things could change, obviously, but when you go and you stake on an exchange, these things are being reported to institutions like the IRS and things like that. So obviously there's other ways to do it. But I think, like you said, we've had so many scams, whether it's these lending and borrowing things and all these types of things. And I'm not saying that this type of use case or technology is not important and won't be vastly popular in the coming months and years. But I think if you just hold your own tokens and stake them, XRP is not proof of stake, but many of them are. Solana is, Cardano is, and you can do it pretty easily, right? And it's just like a nice, some of them offer up to 10, 12, 50, I think Polkadot's even like 14%. Now, the disadvantage of that is that staking reward kind of constitutes inflation for the token. So you have to kind of balance the reward that you're getting from your staking to the deflation of the token by creating so much more of the supply. But I think that's a really good way. I think in the future, what you're going to start to see more of, especially here in the US, is people not selling their coins as much to take profit or to whatever, but borrowing against it. I think we're going to start to see safe platforms that allow you to do that, where you can continue to hold your assets, but then take almost a loan, or you can be the bank yourself providing a loan to somebody. So I think those are two really good ways. Obviously, there's going to be a risk in everything. There's a risk in just holding tokens in your wallet. I mean, the value might go down, but as far as creating that passive income in a safe, sustainable way, I think those are two good ways to do it.
Totally agree. And I would also add that for me personally, the best way to earn passive income from crypto is to buy some really conventional coins like Bitcoin and forget about them for another 5 years. Probably this is the best way to earn passive income, and the safest one if you know how to store your keys correctly. And Jason, right now, is it the best time to start with crypto? For those new ones, should they invest in crypto right now?
Look, if you haven't been involved in it, it's always going to be, I think it's always a good time. Like it depends on what type of investor you are. If you're looking for immediate gains, it's hard to say, right? Like it's a volatile market. It's still small in the scope of things. When you look at assets like gold or even the stock market or the retirement market or the housing market, it's kind of small when you look at those things. So it's hard to say like what's going to happen tomorrow. But if you're somebody that's going to be holding for the next 2, 3, 5 years, I like we've talked about, I think the best thing you can do is find a quality project where you actually believe in the use case, and just like you said, buy some tokens, put it over here in your wallet. Don't check it every day. Don't expect that you're going to be a crypto millionaire next week or something like that. But just kind of hold it, follow what's going along, um, and kind of get interested in it. Like you have to kind of immerse yourself in what is going on, follow the news, follow the trends. I don't really even like sell that much. I kind of just like add more when there's a bad, like we've had 2 bad days. Today seems to be a good day. But when there's a bad day, and I did this with stocks as well, like just buy more. Like you liked the company yesterday, just because the price is a little bit lower today, nothing happened to the company. It's like it's the same, or the project or the blockchain, nothing's really happened to them. Just buy more when it's cheaper. Like that's kind of what I like to do, not just with crypto or so. It's like everything. Like if you were to go and buy some shoes for $200 and the next day they were $100, well, maybe buy 2 more pairs. And I think you're going to be pretty pleased in the next coming years. It just feels like these things pop so much and there's not that much use. There wasn't any regulation. So everything seems to be trending in the right direction. Just, it definitely seems like a good time, but I might be a little bit biased because I kind of always think it's a good time.
Okay. I think it's also never late to start with crypto because right now we're still early and it's still getting mainstream and it will need a few more years to be actually adopted as other financial instruments are. And what are your best, like what your favorite DeFi projects right now?
Because my channel is so kind of into, it's a little XRP heavy, I don't get to dive into so many of the other projects like I would like to. Like I said, my favorite I think is Polkadot. They have they have a pretty advanced ecosystem. They have a lot of different things that are going on over there. Like they're doing things with like decentralized ID. They have a whole gaming section. So I think a lot of these areas are things that people don't really focus on when they think about crypto. They think about just the financial part of it. I think what you're seeing though with a lot of these DeFi projects, unfortunately, is there's a little bit of I don't really trust the new ones so much. Not that they're bad, not that they won't be good, but I feel like if you're just coming in right now to DeFi space, it's a little bit suspect. But I definitely like, what I tend to deal more with is the ones that are like cheaper for transactions. Like I think dealing on Ethereum right now, although Ethereum is probably the most, we could call it the most established DeFi platform possibly, it's still a little bit antiquated. It's still slow. It's still expensive. So it's really hard for the average person that's coming in to crypto right now to, you hear crypto, you think like cheaper transactions. So I think Ethereum has some work to do there. Solana, I know, is very popular, but the thing with Solana is you just have so many of these meme coin projects that is like, people talk about, oh, I turned $200 into $200,000. And it's like, a 12-year-old. And then people get excited about that. Like, I want to do that too. But then there's so many others that it's just like rug pull after rug pull after rug pull. So I think you want to be safe about it, because the worst thing for somebody to do is to take their $1,000, their $10,000, they're new to crypto, and they throw it into one of these DeFi projects, and then they lose it. Like the project just crashes 95% in 5 minutes. That's really bad for the industry. However, I think DeFi is really important. It needs some work, right? Like there needs to be some sort of, I don't even know if it's called regulation, but like you don't want so many people having all the ability to create these scam tokens over and over again. I think it just puts kind of a black eye on the industry. So I wouldn't say I stay away. Like sometimes I'm a little bit of a DeFi degen, and I'll just go and I'll throw, a few $100 somewhere and be like, okay, let's see what happens. But you do have to go into these things with like a buyer beware type of mentality. Like, don't throw all your eggs into that basket, because you just never know what's going to happen, especially with some of these smaller, either meme coins or whatever they may be. Some of them, it may not work out for you.
Exactly. And the last question that I have for those newcomers, maybe you could suggest where to go, what to start with, how to get into crypto.
Yeah. So if you're in US, obviously it's best to hold your own coins, like in some sort of private wallet, whether it be hardware or one of the trusted apps, which I use both of them. I think both of them are good. You don't want to just get any type of wallet. But if you're in the US, obviously you will have to go to a centralized exchange to convert your dollars into the initial cryptocurrency that you want. I would say use one of the ones that's been around for a long time. For me personally, I use Kraken probably the most as far as like the centralized exchanges go. They're great in the US, not just for depositing and getting those funds really fast, but also when you do want to withdraw. I find Kraken super fast as far as the centralized exchanges. It kind of depends what you want to do. Like if you want to be trading all the time, yeah, maybe you want to have a portion of your funds on a centralized exchange, unless you're going to go to something like Uniswap or one of the ones on Binance Smart Chain or something like that. What I would do is I would hold the majority of those just safely, like you said, kind of put it in a wallet, whether it's on your phone or just in a desk locked away somewhere. Make sure you have your private keys secured and just kind of don't do much with it. I think that's the best way. So obviously you got to start centralized exchange. There's always that, we've seen a lot of these centralized exchanges, whether it be, Mt. Gox back in the day or FTX more recently, kind of go away. So you definitely want to, again, do your homework on that and go with one that's been around for a long time. Also depends on where you live. In US, I think Kraken's very popular. Crypto.com is very popular, but definitely do a lot of research into your exchange, because that's somebody you're going to be sending money to and you're going to be expecting them to send you back. And when you hold your own keys and you hold your own crypto in your private wallet, as long as you don't lose those keys or give them to anybody else, I feel like, depending on the chain, we've had the Terra Lunas of our time, but as long as you trust that chain, those funds really aren't going anywhere. So it's kind of like the two-step process. You have to go centralized first. If you're going to be doing a lot of trading, maybe you want to keep it there for low fee transactions. Hold your own stuff. Like, it's yours, keep it, protect it, and hopefully no one takes it from you.
Exactly. Not your keys, not your crypto. Thanks a lot, Jason. It was Jason Friedman with us, and thank you for finding time to join us. I hope that we will meet over some other sessions with you. And for those who are looking to win 100 USDT, don't forget to like this video and to comment what was the best project or is the best project in crypto and why. We will announce a winner during the next session. It was HodlFM with you. Thank you and see you next time. Bye.